Good morning, everyone. I am so excited. I have Adam Does Movies with me. I have been trying to get on before the holidays. I absolutely love your channel. How are you this morning?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. We're gonna ask the tough questions like, when's the cringe gonna return?
When people are ready for it.
That's right. I love that. That's actually how I originally found you, and I've been watching ever since. And I'm constantly sharing your videos like, yes, this is what I meant to say in my video 2 days ago. Just said better.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Trying to give
I
a
def
voice to the normal people of the world.
That's right. I love how, unfortunately for somebody that does more I focus mainly on the, DC and Marvel of it all, the superhero world, the comic books.
I
Um
noticed that.
re-
Yeah, I know nothing about it.
well, I review most of the stuff that comes out recently and all that fun stuff, but I do talk about the movies related to them. And I notice you get a lot of you're either a shill or a hater.
Yeah,
And it's a weird dichotomy to look at because it's like, no, maybe you're just a normal person with your own interests and likes.
yeah. It's crazy how that works. I mean, I just kind of speak from the heart and from the mind after I watch a movie. I usually review it within 24 hours, and I almost always go with a buddy or two, and I'm just kind of reflecting the opinions we had with each other after the film was done. So it's always kind of mind-boggling to see how people react on online as opposed to your face, which is wildly different
Oh
to
God,
normal.
yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times when even just I've been doing this for 3 years. I know you've been doing it for quite a bit longer,
Yeah.
but it is amazing because a lot of the really derogatory statements you'll get. There's no way. There's no way a person would really say that to you. And it's like, I I'm still a person, right? Like
Right.
I'm still okay. I think
And
we
we're talking
forget that
about
sometimes.
movies, we're,
Yeah,
we're talking about
it's
movies
super
here. This is
serious business
life
here.
and death stuff here.
Yeah, exactly. It is pretty funny though. So
Yeah.
you've had a long internet career, I guess is what you could say,
I
and
guess.
you've
Yeah.
done basically right now. You have your Adam Dead movies that you guys said is in the description, so you can check them out. But you've also worked for like Screen Rant,
Yep.
and you just recently with Rotten Tomatoes with your favorite movie ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh my god! You know what? To be fair, we are completely polar opposite because I don't watch I'm a reading person. So
Sure.
I've never seen any of the Matrix,
Oh,
and
wow.
I know yeah, it's pretty amazing. So even when I go to movie reviews, I kind of just watch it cuz I'm curious, right? Like I don't necessarily think I'm going to watch a movie and I'm like, maybe I'll check this out. A lot of people love The Matrix. No,
Yeah.
not after what I've heard from it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, separate that one and give the first. So you haven't watched the first one even?
No.
Oh, I would recommend it.
I hear they were definitely revolutionary for their time, but like that's the problem is I I guess the best way to put it is I always have been able to escape into reading,
Yeah.
whether it's novel or comic books.
Sure.
And it's always been my passion. So that's kind of what I center on. But of course there are a lot of crossover. And we're getting stuff coming out with the Batman, which I know you were looking forward to. What
Yeah.
did you think
It
of
looks great.
the 3-hour runtime? It's a long runtime.
That is troubling to me, but I mean, it's Matt Reeves. He hasn't really made a bad movie yet. He's made most of the movies he has made. I've loved Cloverfield, uh, down to the Planet of the Apes. I wasn't huge on War, but it was more in the script department and not so much in the directing. So I think I do have faith in his ability to make a good Batman movie.
It's funny because when it came out, it was a runtime. I'm like, oh my god, we just got over this with the Zack Snyder stuff, and I wasn't a fan of the Snyder stuff at
No,
all.
it's
And I did sit down and watch the 4-hour movie just to review it because it's centered my channel, you know.
yeah,
And I'm like, I don't want another 4-hour movie, and then this comes out, it's 3 hours, and it's Matt Reeves, and it's a Batman. I'm like, it's fine. It's
yeah.
fine. I'm totally not a hypocrite. I don't care. I want it as long as it's a good story. It's totally fine. I
Yeah. I
really
mean, to
do
be
like
fair, it's still an hour shorter than the Snyder cut, and it probably won't have near as much slow motion to pad that out. So,
or Wonder Woman intro music.
oh, that it's so weird because there's that his cut of the movie is, I think, far better, but it's like for every great thing he does like two really stupid things, and it's so weird. It's like who have someone over there be an editor or tell Zack Snyder like, "Hey, this looks great, sounds great, but let's maybe pare back on some of the intro music for characters."
Yeah, and it's very weird to me because going from somebody that has, been a lifelong reader of those characters, like, I still have a weird, like, I have to put my mind in a different place because when you go from Marvel to DC, DC generally is a no-kill rule. Like, Batman has a hard no-kill rule, but
Sure.
most of the heroes don't kill, and I'm watching that movie and I'm like, "She just murdered her, and her, and her, and her." I'm like, "What am I watching here? Psychotic Diana?" Like, it was such
Yeah.
a weird thing to me, and I don't think he actually I think the biggest transgression with me was that he didn't get the hopefulness of Superman. He didn't get the serious I mean, Ben Affleck, they all played a good role. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that at all. They played their parts well, but I also feel like he didn't understand those characters at their fundamental core, what they stood for.
Yeah, and there's a tone to it too, right? When you have the original, I shouldn't say the original, but like the Michael Keaton Batman, he clearly killed some people in those movies. He strapped a bomb to a guy and threw him down the sewer and he exploded. He's dead. There's pieces of him all
Right,
over. But it has like a almost tongue-in-cheekness to it. It has this even though they're dark, they're also very silly and intentionally campy. Same with the old
right.
Richard Donner Superman movies. He killed Zod straight up at the end, just like in the newer Zack Snyder movie, which I guess isn't new anymore, but God, how old am I getting? But he's like smiling afterwards. He's like, we saved the day. He's dead. And it's just not as somber of a tone. And I think that's another core piece to it that people overlook is just how different these movies are presented.
I think it almost takes itself too seriously.
It certainly feels that way. Although I do like Man of Steel. I think it's a pretty awesome Superman movie, but I don't think we've really had a great Superman movie just in general.
Really? Even
Yeah.
78?
No, I think for its time, it was, very good. It was breaking in a lot of ways, but now
Right.
watching it's just it's not fun to watch. The effects are dated, and in certain properties, the effects do mean a lot. It's hard to overlook the flying in front of a
Right.
green screen and the silliness of the punching and the fighting.
Yeah, I can understand that. Like, I think it's time, and it's been time with the way that the world is so divisive right now for a really, like, almost to the point of campy, hopeful Superman movie. Like, we need that. It would do you remember the show Smallville?
I didn't watch it.
What?
I don't watch, like, any superhero TV shows, and it's almost for the exact same reason I was talking about Richard Donner's movie. I feel like the budget's not there to really suck me in. I mean, now maybe they have the budgets, but back in the, 90s and early 2000s, it was just kinda campy to me.
Yeah, and I get that. I just feel like there was a lot of hope instilled in that, and that's always what Superman's been. And right now, yeah, we could use that. We could I mean, a lot of people could look up to something like that right now. It's fun world we live in.
Yeah. Are we ignoring the chat, or are we
No,
supposed
no,
to be
no, not at all. I just wanted to yeah, I did see yes, Robert, I did put on basically, subscriber only because I didn't want any necessarily trolls when I had a
sure.
guest. I figured that I do get a lot of people, from, like, the anti-SJW side that hate me, so I just
Oh, okay.
with having a guest that's brand new and doesn't know, I wanted to make sure you felt welcome, so
My audience hates everyone, so it's all included. I'm joking.
we
I'm
hate,
joking. I have no
indiscriminately.
yeah, I hear you. It's a sad world out there where there's hate seems to be the popular thing.
It's like
Figure
hate
Drying
clout.
asked me why I didn't put Pig and The Black Knight on my best of 2021 because I didn't see either of those films. I heard really good things about Pig specifically, but I only have so much time and Yeah, my 2021 best of and worst of is not the be all end all list. I made that pretty clear up front. There's too many movies and shows to watch. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
I actually watched that video this morning because I hadn't had a chance, and I seen you had Pinocchio in there, and you're just like, "Well,
oh,
this."
that's for my, like, upcoming movies I'm excited about.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
okay. But te you name people that I don't necessarily know because, I'm not a big movie person.
sure.
What's the drive to see something like that when we're getting so many of these bad reboots as it is?
That's a great question. It's specifically because Guillermo del Toro is the director, and he does phenomenal work in the space, and it's not gonna be like a cookie cutter Disney film. This will be dark. This will have a different story to tell than what we know of Pinocchio. And I just think if you look at his body of work, he did Pan's Labyrinth, he did, The Shape of Water, he did Hellboy 1 and 2, maybe he just did 2, and then Blade 2. I mean, everything he's put out I've loved. So, I'm very excited and hopeful for that film.
The Hellboy, not the recent one, right?
God, no. No,
Okay,
Hellboy
I
2.
was just making sure. I actually have seen that, seen the original Hellboy, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
it's a very fun movie.
Oh, yes, definitely. But so because you are a movie guy, speaking of since we're on the, topic of reboots anyway, have you been enjoying or are you looking forward to, like, the Snow White reboot or we recently had Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. I guess there was a probably more in there. I never seen
Cinderella, uh,
Yeah.
Jungle Book,
Oh my
no,
gosh, there's
well, I
more
should
than
say
I
no
even
straight
knew.
up. I I look forward to these, live action, even if they're like 90% CG like The Lion King, if they have a unique story to tell and something different to bring to the table. But when you're The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or even Aladdin and you're just repurposing the animated versions with the same music, sometimes the same storyboard assets of, a shot layout, what are you doing? That's completely
Right.
soulish and just comes off as a disingenuous cash grab. The Jungle Book, I did like quite a bit because it was nothing like the animated classic. It was completely different. It was almost kind of like The Lion King story wise, but I did enjoy that one. So I don't know anything about Cinderella or the live action Little Mermaid. I'm not going to just be quick to judge and dismiss it, but right out of the gates, if it's Disney, I really don't have any hope for it.
Yeah, and especially with what's been going on with Snow White lately, there's been a lot of Peter Dinklage getting people fired, and it's like, I don't know necessarily that it is more than like what you said, it's a cash grab. It's nostalgia bait, and nostalgia bait does work. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Oh,
Like,
of course. Yeah. Look at Lion King.
it,
It was one of the highest grossing movies of all time. The new one.
oh really?
It's like
I
in the
knew
top
Aladdin did
10.
really well.
It's just sad.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
I've seen the original. Lion King was one of my favorite movies growing up. I don't want to necessarily taint that memory. You know what I mean? Like those
Yeah.
were such good movies for
Yeah.
kids growing up.
Lion King's phenomenal. So is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is actually my favorite animated film.
Didn't they do Maleficent kind of as a spin-off of that with Angelina Jolie?
And that one I think is fine because it really is a different story. It's a different take.
Right.
Cruella, not so much. I don't really think we need to do this whole anti-hero business when it's all gonna inevitably lead to her skinning puppies anyways. So
Right.
what are we doing here? Emma Stone's a gem to be sure, but not even she saves that for me. The comment says, I don't know anyone who doesn't like Superman 78. I
I
like
see
Superman
that.
78. I don't know if that's like just a general statement. I do like Richard Donner's Superman. I'm just saying I haven't seen a Superman movie I love yet.
Yeah, Superman 78 was phenomenal. It's dated. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Um, but yeah, when it comes to the reboots, I mean, I steer clear of a lot of stuff, let's be real, but those were so good, but, like, now they've got really good properties coming out. I know Bianca in the chat, myself in comics, she said we don't talk about Maleficent. She loves Encanto. Have you had a chance to see that one yet?
I did finally see El Canto. I didn't review it because I was a couple weeks late, and honestly, the trailer I thought looked terrible, and I had no desire to watch. But it was thought it was very enjoyable. Um, I figured it was, I was like a month late on reviewing already, and no one's gonna care what I
Right.
have to say about an animated Disney film.
YouTube is
Whatever.
very topical. Like if you're a couple days
Yeah.
late, you're not gonna it's gonna be squandered in the algorithm, unfortunately.
It sucks because if I was like a large channel, I could kind of have, carte blanche to talk about whatever movies I want, and review whatever I want, but I'm still kind of at a growing phase, an incubation phase all these years later with an audience. But there's this big part of me that wants to do like a throwback Tuesday and just talk about a movie I love, like Uncle Buck or The Sandlot, and just talk about it for 15, 20 minutes. But I know it's not going to get any views because people want you to talk about what's now, what happened today, not what
Yeah.
happened 20 years ago. Or in
Well,
that
I
case,
noticed
30 years ago. God
a
damn.
while ago you did a video about how you had said you got real serious about doing YouTube. And I actually kind of you talked about some of the things you did and I took your ideas, not gonna lie, like with branding
That's
of
fair.
your thumbnails. It was something I always like just make it different every single time. I'm like
Right.
maybe I should try that. And I think that you said you had started growth. Have you had the similar success since you put out that video?
Yeah, I've had great success the last year, I'd say, with channel growth. Um, like you said, I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing it for over 10 years now. It's a little disingenuous to say because I had a couple kids in the process, and I am married and have a full-time job, so a lot of life got in the way in a good
Oh,
way.
no.
In a good way, but,
Mhm.
that took me, like, I wasn't putting out videos for, like, 6-month gaps for a while, so you kind of are constantly rebuilding that little bit of a subscriber base you have. Uh,
Right.
and I was also my own worst enemy for the longest time. I didn't wanna do what every other successful YouTube person was doing. I thought, "I know what's best on YouTube, not what everybody else is doing. I'm gonna do, like, 10 different shows with all this variety and put in all this work for myself and see no benefit from it." It wasn't until I kinda grew up a little bit and saw not only what other people were doing on YouTube, but how I watch YouTube videos, which is I subscribe to channels for like one specific thing, not 10
Right.
things. So I was turning people off that were both new and old to the channel where they're like, why, what the hell is this show now? The cringe? I don't, is this you? Is this a parody?
Oh, come on, it was so good.
I love it, but I totally get why people didn't. Or I also had a Movie Boss series, which was more of a sitcom-based show on movies, and some people really love that, but I also turned off a lot of people. So, yeah, I had to make the hard choice and kinda check my ego and say, "Okay, we're doing one show format. It's gonna be, fairly easy to edit. I can get out videos constantly, and we're really gonna put it all in this year. Do, like, 4 or 5 videos a week, and just drive up that algorithm." And I saw probably a 15-20,000 subscription bump from it so far. Because
That's
I
awesome.
was losing subscribers every time I put out videos for 2 years straight. Um, so it is nice. It's nice to see that. And The Matrix Resurrections obviously brought in a large pool of them, which was nice too.
That is
Unexpected, but nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
I noticed you do, like, the community post too where you put out what's gonna come out, and I like that. Ever since I saw well, I format things a little bit differently because I do cover, like, DC Comics announced a new book coming out, and that's kind of more day-to-day basis, but
Sure.
ever since I seen you start doing that, I started doing, like, making sure I had, my live stream schedule always down, making
Mhm.
sure I do a show every week with Bianca, myself and comics here, on Monday. Like I make sure I keep to a schedule. And I think it in a weird way, seeing you do that has helped me keep on task. That
That's
sounds
great.
silly,
No,
but
that's
it
great.
works. And
Yeah.
and I changed some of my formatting and I noticed a difference, but I'm at the point right now where I I I'm still losing. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
losing, I'm staying stagnant. So I think a
Right.
lot of it also has to do with movies are niche in a way anyways, but then you go down to the comic side of it and it's even more niche, right? Like, there's not a huge market for comic books. They're lucky to sell 50 units a month, right?
Right.
For say a Superman book. So if I've already got half of that, I've got 21,000. It's going to
Mhm.
be hard as it is anyway. So I'm still pretty happy with what I've done. Um, but I would definitely say that those kind of things that you've put out like that have helped me, and I'm sure they've helped other people too, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad I can, like, inspire, but not necessarily stick to my own, like, rules.
We
Uh,
all do it.
I
We
put
all
out,
do it.
I try to put out like the weekly schedule, and it's more or less a basis for me to follow and not necessarily for the viewers, because a lot of times I won't even hit those goals of, okay, I still haven't put out my top 10 uh, comedies of all time, which was supposed to come out last week, I think.
Right.
But my goal is to schedule out like 5 or 6 videos that are more evergreen videos that don't have really a deadline. They're, you can
Yep.
watch them 10 years down the road and they're still relevant. Um, but then within that, I have to go on Twitter and like check out the news of the day. And then I can say, okay, this is getting bumped for this news about Snow
Yep.
White or whatever. And that's kind of how I'm operating. And then I'll actually shoot 3 or 4 videos at a time, which is why I'm often in the same shirt, multiple videos in a row, because that's just how this is working. I don't have time to like do this every day.
Oh yeah. I totally get it. And that's what's so nice about just like being able to I know you have a way different format than I do, but just being able to turn off the camera if I want to record. Yeah, yeah, there we go. Don't have to worry about makeup and all that fun stuff.
All right, yeah, that's
It
nice.
makes it easier.
To your
So,
point, Tristan, though,
yeah.
you're saying you're stagnant right now. I would just, if you keep consecutively putting out videos in a consistent way, and you have a unique voice, which you clearly do, and you have kind of a niche, which a niche on YouTube isn't a niche at all. There's a lot of people like you out there that are watching this content. They just need to find you. Eventually you will have a video that will resonate, and it'll probably be one you don't expect, because that's what it's been for me time and time again. I didn't expect Frozen versus Tangled to get like 3 million views when I put it out. I mean, that was
Oh
absurd at the
yeah.
time. And that's a horrible video. That's just
I've seen
simply,
that video
oh,
actually.
it's so like the lighting, the acting, everything's miserable, but it was just the topic. So you're gonna strike the right chord at some point, and you'll get a rush of viewership. The problem is you don't know the answer, so you just have to be consistent and keep putting out content you enjoy making, and you think others will as well.
Yeah, and every once in a while I'll get one that gets more views. Like I'll put a lot of time into a video. Like I'll do an origin of say Black Adam. I'll put hours into it. And then one where I just randomly talk about something. That's the one that always hits. It's so weird how YouTube
Yep,
works.
it's crazy.
It definitely is. So I wanted to talk to you and get your insight. Now yeah, there's been a lot going around with the movies surrounding the DCU. We kind of already talked about it a little bit, but the rumors then came out from Miss Grace Randolph, who's always
Oh god.
100% of the time right. Correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I don't know. No. I don't know why she's a thing still, but I guess the
I
world
know.
keeps
I
spinning.
Most people know I'm not a fan of her, but she came out and she said that Superman and Batman are gone. How likely do you think that actually is?
Like, what do you mean? The Henry Cavill and
Yeah, she came out and said that the new Trinity was going to be Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, Leslie Grace Batgirl, and then oh, I can't think of the other girl's name, but she's playing Supergirl in The Flash.
I
Sasha Cali.
I don't listen to her or think anything she says has much weight to it. She's probably said this before about Batman and Superman being out. I know other YouTube channels have. They said it like
Right.
4 years ago that Batman was done. We wouldn't see him again. And he isn't he in the new Flash movie coming out?
He is.
Ben Affleck. Yeah. So it's hard to even it's hard to even listen and comment on that bullshit. But
Yeah.
I guess I would just say if the if the popularity's still there for these actors, they'll find a way to bring them back. Look what just happened with the new Spider-Man movie. And I
Oh
wouldn't be
god, yeah.
surprised if we see another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man at some point now, because he was so damn good in that. And I think he was done a little dirty in those two amazing Spider-Man films that just weren't written the best. But he can certainly pull off the character. I mean, Henry Cavill, I think, is a phenomenal Superman, and I
Yeah.
think it's kind of the same as Andrew Garfield, where he's just not getting the right material to work with, but he clearly has the chops for this character. That
He
wasn't
has
really an
the
answer, I guess.
No, no, no,
I think
but
it's wait and see and not speculate.
and I think Henry Cavill not only has the chops, but he has the look. He looks like Superman. He looks like Clark Kent,
All
and
right.
he's a phenomenal actor. I know he's busy with The Witcher and some other things, but I don't think there's any way in hell they're not. I don't know that Ben Affleck necessarily wants to come back, right? He said it
Yeah.
quite a few times that he maybe is done with the role after The Flash. But as far as Henry Cavill, he talks about wanting to be Superman. He talks about loving that role. I don't think there's any way that DC is not going to cash in on that.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I would say if they go forward with them, let's just cut the whole Clark Kent facade. I don't think anybody's buying that. The guy is a mountain of a man, and he keeps
Right.
disappearing. And you look at the guy, it's like you're not changing how you walk or how you interact with people at all. You're clearly Superman.
I don't think there's any way they will ever drop that. I'm
I
not going to
know.
lie,
I'm
just
just joking
because
a bit.
it's such a good, like, okay, well, we can give you a different life here and we can keep it separate. But I do think it's definitely like there's a lot of people out there that are called like movie scoopers and stuff, right?
Mhm.
You've got a bunch of the rumor mongols at this point, and um for all of her faults, Grace Randolph, well, yeah, she's one. I was gonna say she's not one of the worst of them, but yeah, that would be a lie.
Yeah.
But it also like goes back to the situation with John Campea. When these people make these outrageous rumors and stuff, they get so much free press. There are people that had no idea who Grace Randolph or John Campea were
Yeah.
before they released pictures with a watermark on it. and
Ridiculous.
and it was obvious what was going on to anybody paying attention, but they get so much free press from it. It makes sense why they do it in a
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
like, twisted way.
Yeah.
That
I
that
try to just ignore their existence as much as I can. Unfortunately, I'm in the space with them, so it's like, I'm swimming at one end of the pool, but they're peeing in the other end, so some of that's eventually gonna make its way over, and there's just no way to avoid it. But I look at channels like that, I don't think of them as so much as movie fans as just kind of, participants that are trying to take advantage and get the scoops. They're not the same as us. We go to movies because we want to escape and get away, and we're excited for the next thing to come out. They're there to just break stories and get noticed because of the stories, not so much because of the story itself.
Right, and that's what I try to tell people on my channel when they, because there's been a lot around, at least in the comics when it comes, like, to the sales of, the new Superman, right? He's bisexual, everyone's so mad. It's so woke, right? Um,
Right.
and
Everyone's like,
I try to tell people at my channel, like, a lot of these people really aren't comic fans. They're not here to talk about it, to theorize, to have fun with it. They're more interested in the culture war of it all. And at some point
yep.
you just have to, and I had to learn myself, you just have to ignore it, right? And it unfortunately, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard.
Well, the woke thing is so funny because you have what woke used to be the term used to be just progressive, right? It was just another word for progressive. Like, hey,
Right,
they're woke. They realize that 90% of the movies out of Hollywood star a white man lead role and there's a damsel in distress. So we're going to change some of that.
right,
We're going to have more representation. I don't know of anybody that thinks that's bad. But then over the years that changed because you have the far left side of Twitter screaming and yelling about more representation and this movie is oppressive to this race of people. And then you have this far right set of Twitter that's pissed off about anything changing at all. And so they're
right,
just constantly crashing into each other. And what you get is just an amalgamation of people saying everything's woke, or you're a Nazi if you believe that it's not. You're called the worst things in the world if you push back a little bit and say, hey, you know what? Maybe that all-female Ghostbusters sucks just because the writing's bad and because
Yep.
they kind of belittled what came before, and all the men are treated like complete jackasses and all the women are put on a pedestal, not because they're great characters, but because we've had to neuter the men to build these women up.
Yep.
Um, but then you have other things like, oh, Captain Marvel is the main character of a movie, so this is woke bullshit because Brie Larson is a progressive, whatever. I don't care about Brie Larson. She's a fine actress, but they'll take the personal stuff or the stuff that gets posted on social media and they'll just interject that in what's in the movie, and it might not even be in the movie to begin with. Captain Marvel might be a bad example because that movie sucks, but still, I'm just saying
I know exactly what you mean. It's
they go way
it's
too far on both ends, and I'm just trying to watch a fucking movie. Sorry, I
That's
don't know if I
a
can
that's
swear on this. I
no,
apologize.
no, you're totally fine. Let me get this super chat. Robert, thank you so much. A movie that proves that the Clark Kenting can work is Collateral. Michael Mann actually prepared Cruz to walk into a mall and not be recognized at work. I have no idea what Collateral is. Any comment on that movie?
A movie that proves that Clark Kent can work as Collateral. No, I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Sorry, Robert. We're
Yeah.
both
What?
clueless. But yeah, it is funny. And but the thing that it is also is very profitable.
Yeah, of course. Right. Eternals was a great example of that. A movie that was below average, pretty mediocre across the board with some really stupid choices, but they had a very varied cast of actors, which I think was fine. I had no problem with that. But then on Twitter, that was basically the entire conversation. Not about how the movie was itself,
Right.
but about look at all how progressive we are. We have all these different walks of life in this film, all these cultures are represented, and then you have another group that's just they don't want to hear it. They refuse to hear anything about it, and they're pissed off right out of
Yep.
the gates before even seeing the movie. And if they would have watched the movie, they would have known that it's not bad because of the different types of people. It's bad because of the script.
Right. I totally get it. And that's and we've even talked on here about that kind of stuff, like proving that get woke, grow woke is a logical fallacy. It's a lie.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times comes down to really bad storytelling. And unfortunately, you just ignore those properties. You let the market decide. There are really great, like super strong female stories that just like Arcane is a masterpiece. And it is extremely, for lack of a better terms, woke.
Right.
Like
I loved Arcane. I watched it twice. My whole family watched it. We thought it was fantastic. It's weird. I don't was there outrage over that? I really don't know.
no,
I
there wasn't, but I'm just
Okay.
saying it's a property that would has strong females and the whole
Right.
bit. But it was I knew nothing about Arcane except for people
No, neither
telling
did
me
I.
in my comment section to watch it. So me and my friend Bianca watched it, and it's like this is amazing. This is a brand new story that I've never. It's original. It's incredible animation and it got me really invested in not only like this world building and the characters, but like how they felt, their interactions. It was like perfect on great on every level. I don't want to say perfect, but it was one of those stories that I'll tell people all the time to watch. It's great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I'm seeing in your chat there. That's funny that they're talking about the movie Collateral because I was going to say the only thing I know about Collateral is the movie with Tom Cruise and Collateral Damage with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Collateral's an awesome movie. And they're saying that Tom Cruise wasn't noticed when he walked through a mall when he was filming, and now they're arguing back and forth about it. Okay, well that was useless. Henry Cavill is an Adonis of a man. He's statuesque. You're not going to confuse this guy. Okay, you see him, you know it's Henry Cavill. I'm sorry, he's Superman.
Oh,
He's not
definitely.
Clark Kent. You put on some non-prescript glasses, that doesn't change anything in my mind.
Let me get this super chat here. Thank you so much, Robert. An example of whining and being proven wrong. Phoebe Weller working on No Time to Die. All she wrote was the Paloma stuff and that everyone loved. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the commentary about that, how Daniel Craig was kind of being swept out of his own film, and the strong female black lead was going to take over. She was barely in it. I liked the movie until the end. The end was a little rough, but for the most part, it was a great movie, and Daniel Craig was absolutely the front and center focus of that film.
I don't
Just
know.
again, people
I haven't
people
seen it.
didn't see the movie. Yeah, people didn't see the movie, and they got like super pissed before it came out because that's what we do now.
Yeah, and it did pretty good at the box office from what I remember.
Yeah, it did great. They're regretting not signing him for more movies.
So another thing that definitely comes up a lot, and it just did, I believe there's a new movie coming out called Moonfall, and the director was talking about the superhero cinema and how it has ruined the MCU and well, for by extension the DCEU has ruined the cinema, right?
Sure.
Do you think that there's any truth to that?
No. Um, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Oh, I'm sorry. The director of Moonfall came out a couple days ago, and it's
That's the
a
one with Halle Berry?
I believe I don't know, it's
Okay.
coming up, it's a movie that's coming out soon, and basically said that, um, Marvel and DC, superhero movies in general, are ruining cinema as a whole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I just wanna make sure. No, I don't think that it's ruining cinema. It's that's like saying McDonald's and Subway and Taco Bell are ruining, food.
Right.
It it's just another way to consume. People like shit. I like shit. I like the Marvel movies and the DCEU movies, some of them. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate a good movie. You know,
Mhm.
I still wanna see those Pan's Labyrinths. I still wanna see those, hard-hitting films, by Steven Spielberg or by Martin Scorsese or by Quentin Tarantino or by, uh, a multitude of maybe not Michael Bay, but, he has a place too. We have a place for Michael Bay as well. They could have said the same thing about the Transformers movies years ago. They made like 5 of those, and those movies brought in dumb money, and that's just how it is. The masses like kinda nonsense films. They can shut their brain off and escape for a while, and I think that's why there is another big pushback with Hollywood is the dumb big blockbuster movies are starting to have more progressive commentary in them instead of
Right.
just being for all audiences. It is kind of starting to steer away, and that is pissing people off. I went to Jackass last night, Jackass Forever. So fun, so fun. And
Was it?
we need more movies like that that just bring everyone together for some laughs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my husband was wanting to see that too. I was curious if it was any good. Is that a cinema only movie?
I think it is, yeah. They're doing this really uncomfortable thing now where the actors, like, stand there before the movie starts and they're like, "Hey, thanks for coming out to the it's the way that it should be experienced on a big screen," and I'm just, like, seeing out of the reflection of their eye, the guy off camera with a gun saying, "Yep, keep talking, keep talking." They did, like, 2 intros before the movie started, it was so
Oh my
weird.
that one's gonna be good. I definitely think, it's definitely gonna be worth it. I always like those movies, and I think you said it best in your, video I watched this morning, where you said, it was kind of Vines before Vines or, like, TikTok was created. They were kind of the idiots
Oh,
that
yeah.
put out yeah,
Right,
you know what? Like,
right.
it totally was.
Yeah, they were on public access TV, that's as gritty as you can get. They weren't even getting paid for that shit.
Yeah, and it was good and it was fun. That was, like, brought a whole generation of, that type of content up when it comes to they even had that Bam Margera show. That was a
Yep, I
mess.
do remember that. Where
I
he'd screw with his dad all the time.
don't looking back at it, like, I don't know how much of that stuff was actually real.
I'm sure it was all fake, but,
Yeah.
it still was fun. But Bam was not in the new Jackass. I believe he has a lot of personal demons going on or
Issues.
something. They couldn't get him back, yeah.
Yep,
It's too
I
bad. I wanted to
totally
see him cry about getting thrown into a snake pit or something again.
Yeah, I think he went through a phase where he was real, into, oh, Viva La Bam, that's what it was called, Hooded Justice. Went through a phase where he was, pretty deep into, alcohol and drugs.
Mm.
So yeah, that's kind of sad. Hopefully it gets through that and gets out the other side. But yes, when it comes to kind of adding to the topic that you were talking about, um, when with the outrage on Twitter and then the outrage on the right, everything's woke in this. Do you think that actually hurts cinema at all?
I don't. I'm not sure it does. No, I think that there's. I think they'll say it does, but then we have countless examples of it of movies that are quote unquote woke, like Star Wars, The Last Jedi. Is that what that shitty movie's called? That
Uh
one
huh.
made insane amounts of money, and they were calling that movie woke as heck. So there's an example of it working. But then you look at something like Charlie's Angels, which I saw and was a very mediocre film. That one was also labeled woke, and that did really bad. It bombed at the box office, and I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that it was woke. I think it
Right.
was just we already had a couple Charlie's Angels movies. No one was clamoring for another one like
Right.
15 years later. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can kind of break down the films, and because that woke term is such a catch-all now, I mean, I suppose to the people that use it constantly, yeah, it's affecting things. But when everything falls in the bucket of woke, it's hard to argue with it.
Right. I do have a question for you from Nay Nay Nay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
What would be the latest Evergreen movie, Adam?
The latest ever evergreen movie, something that withstands the test of time. I believe is what they're saying.
Mhm.
Hmm. I think well, the first one that springs to mind is La La Land, just because I personally don't give a shit about musicals. And I watched that movie and was very captivated by it. I thought it was a beautiful film from beginning to end, really well done. That's a few years old now, though. I'm trying to think of something more recent. I do think the Marvel movies are going to show some age in 10 years. Some of them already
Oh,
have in
yeah.
the effects department for sure. That's tough. I guess first instinct is La La Land, or something that doesn't require heavy special effects, but also has a creative voice to it, and it's telling a fun story in the process.
Do you personally have, like, a favorite movie? Like, something that you always like, everybody has those, kind of, like, comfort foods, right? Like, mine's mashed
Sure.
potatoes and gravy. Do you have a comfort food of movies?
I mean, I have a favorites list. I would break it down by genre if I had the
Mhm,
time, but the first couple that spring to mind are, Jurassic Park. I think that that's just cinema for me at its finest, just escapism from the world. What Spielberg was able to craft in the '90s was so groundbreaking, and you can still watch it today and
mhm,
compare it to modern CG, and it looks damn good still, because of the animatronics they used, because they weren't so arrogant to put the dinosaurs right out in the sun for the majority. They used shadows, they used creative lighting to hide some of the tech that they didn't have. That movie I've probably seen 30 or 40 times.
oh my
The Matrix
goodness.
is up there for sure in the top three. Fight Club, that's kind of been labeled a bro movie in the last decade or so, which is weird to me because it's very anti that. I think people miss the point of Fight Club, and I'm not gonna spend another 20 minutes telling them why they're wrong, but it's such a fun, unique film, and it's got a lot of layer to it, which I find fascinating. The Thing is, if we're going in the horror genre, I really like The Thing. I think the movie came out in late '70s, early '80s, I believe, and God, it's creepy. It sticks with you. So yeah, I definitely have movies I've watched. If we're going comedy, Dumb and Dumber
Oh my
is just
god.
so stupid and
It's so
funny.
dumb, but
It's
it's
so
so
dumb.
good.
I mean, then it's in the name, right? So yeah, I could quote that movie from beginning to end. A lot of Jim Carrey movies in general, I'm a big fan of his work, or the
I'm the
Naked
same
Gun
with,
series. Some of the old satire, I think is great.
Super Troopers. That movie,
Super
like,
Troopers is great. I think the
it
first
was
half,
so good.
Super Troopers and Office Space, I think the first half is brilliant, and then they kind of lose me a little bit in the second act when they're actually trying to build a story. I think it's better when it's just more comedic set pieces and less a full on, novel.
Well, did you see the second Super Troopers? It was
No, God, no.
nothing oh
No.
god. It was like I was so excited, like pumped. Yes, this is one of my favorite movies ever. I love Super Troopers. I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Those
There's
directors are God, they're one trick ponies really, because a couple of their other movies I thought were awful.
yeah,
Um,
the one about like dinner, like being waiters and stuff. Like it was oh.
and then there's that Club Dread. I don't know if anybody finished that film. Zoolander 2 was like that. I think the first one's just hilarious, and then they made that sequel 20 years later. It was atrociously bad, which is too bad
There's
because Ben Stiller in general writes a lot of things I think are great. So it was really disheartening to see that he lost his way so badly with the sequel.
Zoolander was good. I
Yeah.
would say I don't because I've seen a lot of movies, but just nothing compared to what normal people do. But there's still movies like from my childhood that are like my comfort food. I would say like Edward Scissorhands, so good. I know it's like goofy and a weird concept, but it was phenomenal to me, and I cried every single time, and I still cry every single time. And then Interview with a Vampire.
Oh yeah,
I
that's a
believe
great movie.
that's and oh
Talk
my
about
god.
heartthrobs too. You got Tom Cruise in that. Alec,
Mhm.
or no, Antonio Banderas, Brad Pitt, Christian Slater. I mean, you're just the cream of the crop for the strong male leads. I mean, I just can't get over it.
It was so good. And then, oh my Legends of Tomorrow? Yes, with Brad Pitt.
Oh, Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall. I'm
That's one of
thinking
my
the
wife's
CW
favorite
show.
movies, and I know
Mm,
why. And it's not because of the story. It's because
it's
of
so
Brad
good.
Pitt. Yeah,
It's because of it is the Brad Pitt of it all. Like 2 out of 3 of my favorite movies ever have Brad Pitt in it, and the other one has Johnny Depp. Like, how can you not argue with that? But
it's yeah.
I always thought like Legend of the Fall was so cool because Brad Pitt's name in it is Tristan. And I was like,
That's right.
7. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Like Legend of the Fall has my name in it. I'm cool. Like I don't care if it's a boy, it's Brad Pitt.
That's right.
That's all that matters. So funny. So do you have any what about movies that have sequels that are better than the original? Can you think of any of those?
Yeah. Well, I think Aliens is. I can think of them that are at least equal to, if not better. Aliens, as opposed to Alien, they're kind of different movies. One's a space thriller horror film, and the other is more of an action sci-fi. But I think Aliens is fantastic. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is better than the first, in my opinion. James Cameron, again, did that one along with Aliens. Austin Powers 2 is, I think, equally as the first.
That's a good example. I would have never even thought of that one.
We just
That's
rewatched the
funny.
Austin Powers movies. They're so good. Third one, not so much, but it's still got some moments. Back to the Future Part 2, I go back and forth on whether I like that one more than the original, but I think it does at least stay consistent with the quality. Man, off
I've
the top of
never
my
seen
head,
those
I
movies
know
either.
there's a oh, well, of course, Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars. I don't think there's as many people that would argue that. Someone also said I saw that the Star Wars sequel movies made less money as they went on, and I've looked at a couple of different stats here, and that's just simply not true. Force Awakens is one of the highest grossing Star Wars movies of all time.
Yep.
The Last Jedi is up there very high too. So I don't know where you're getting your sources from, sir, but that's inaccurate.
I get that too. I whenever we talk about like the woke idea, I get that like, well, they lost money. No, 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 they most certainly did not. I don't know who's
Yeah.
telling you that, but yeah, they definitely didn't. I would add in the Dark Knight trilogy. I think the Heath Ledger, that was the
Oh
second
yeah. I
one.
mean,
That was
again, I'm
phenomenal.
you putting me on the spot, Tristan.
I know. That totally
Like
wasn't
10
done on
more.
purpose.
I mean, Spider-Man 2, you got X2, X-Men United, which is one of my favorite superhero movies. Even Days of Future Past is phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, Logan, one of my favorite superhero movies,
Oh
if you want
yeah.
to call it a superhero movie,
The
a comic book
Godfather
movie.
too.
Godfather 2. Yeah, there's plenty of good examples for sure.
Yeah.
It's not It's the third one, I think, more so, where things really start to fall apart. That's when you see the wheels come off on some of these, like Return of the Jedi gets a little silly, a little dumb. Still a great movie, but definitely doesn't hold a candle in my opinion to Empire. X-Men 3, just bad, just all around bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
Dark
my
Knight
gosh.
Rises I like a lot, but a lot of people will say that one's not very good. Um, I can see the reasons. The plot does really fall apart when you break it down, but it still does enough right for me.
It's a good movie. I just think, and I know it wasn't necessarily a time when they really cared about stuff like that, but they did, like, with Talia and with Braz in the first movie, they did whitewash those characters, and same with, Bane, and I know a lot of people, like, retroactively look back at that, like, "Yeah, they probably shouldn't have done that," like, was it Tom Hardy? Is that who plays Bane?
Mhm, mhm.
He did a great job, but he's definitely not luchador material. That voice too. Oh, that voice
Yeah,
is so weird. It's definitely good. Conjuring 3.
I didn't
Gotta
like Conjuring 3.
Iron Man 3.
Ugh.
Iron Man
Iron Man 3
everybody
is better
hates
than
that
Iron
movie.
Man 2. Iron Man 2 is embarrassing.
Oh my god, with Whiplash? Is
Yeah,
that
it
what
was
it
so
is?
bad. Like,
Oh,
where's the
bad.
security, by the way? This jackass is in the middle of the speedway, whipping his little things around. We can't shoot this jackass? Where's the security?
Iron Man 3 though, everybody hates for some reason, and I
I like
loved
Iron
it,
Man
like,
3.
I thought it was good. They did, like, the whole
Yeah.
he has anxiety and gave him, like, a little bit more of a
Well, PTSD.
yeah,
They
I
didn't
like
like it
that.
because of what they did to the Mandalorian, and again, I guess I can sympathize, but then they did reveal he wasn't actually the Mandalorian, it was just a cop out. Um,
Right.
like, you
Yeah,
look at the
I
new
get that.
Uncharted movie, and I think that just looks like dog shit because none of the actors look anything like their video game counterparts, and Tom Holland, who I like as Spider-Man, doesn't seem like he can pull off another character, he's just playing Peter Parker again.
I
Not to completely jump topics
No, no,
here.
no, I purposefully have not watched any of those trailers because I have
Okay.
no intention on watching the movie because, you've got the cutscenes, it's a good game, why are we making
Yeah.
this something where Tom Holland? It should have been somebody way old it just it's off to me.
Yeah, it's
I just
ridiculous.
had no
Nathan
interest.
Fillion was the perfect did I say
Yes!
Mandalorian in Iron Man 3? People are
Mandarin.
Sorry, I meant Mandarin. Mandalorian. I wonder what I'm watching right now on freaking
Couldn't
Disney
be the
Plus.
book of Boba Fett at all.
Yeah, Boba Fett.
The Mandarin now yes,
Yes, I
Mandalorian.
know. I'm sorry, I'm not perfect.
Adam Test movie is the
God damn it.
GOAT.
Every fucking video, I always screw something up. I don't have an editor or anything, so it's you yeah. The best is I'll do a video and sometimes they'll be long, like 20 minutes, and I'll catch something at the last second and be like, "Oh god, I gotta re-edit this part or refilm it, because that I'm gonna get eaten alive." And then I will have missed something completely different in that same video that'll be
Oh,
just as bad. Because you can't edit your own stuff. You'll miss things every time.
oh yeah, and I do that unfortunately too.
Yeah. You can't
I
avo
was
It's
actually surprised you
unavoidable.
don't have an editor. Your editing's very well done.
Well, it's yeah, I don't wanna have people do stuff for free, and YouTube, as you know, isn't the most
Most
lucrative business to
yeah,
be in.
it definitely isn't. I got a question for you though, from
What's up?
Robert Willing. Thank you, Robert. Your thoughts on ginger side in Hollywood? I'm mostly joking, but it's one of the things people bring up.
Ginger side. I'm not I'm not in the community, I guess I'm not up to what's happening with ginger side. Is there a lot of redheads being recast or something?
Yeah, the whole thing is like people think that redheads are all being race bent, like with
Like
Batgirl
Little
most
Mermaid?
recently, but she's still a redhead. So
Which
I
movie?
don't like Batgirl, Babs Barbara Gordon being race bent, but she's still going to be a redhead, so I don't see the issue there. I know there's a lot of examples. Cyclone in Black Adam movie was
Okay.
also
Yeah, I guess I just
there. It's oh Annie from the musical.
How do you recast Annie? Come on, that's her thing, right? Is being a
Yeah,
little ginger girl?
yeah.
Hmm.
I like Annie. I like the original. Some of those things, we go right back to the beginning. Some of those things don't need to be recast or redone. They hold up. There's no need
Or
for it.
when yeah, I don't know. It's a fickle thing, but, when half of your persona is the way you look, then you probably shouldn't touch it. If like
Right.
Uncle Buck, for instance. What do we know about Uncle Buck? He's a jolly, fat, white dude who is a smart ass, and he'll take things into his own hands. They decided and it's John Candy. I think there's just certain roles where the actor is just as much the character than the character, you know? Um, they redid Uncle Buck as a TV show with, like, a thin black dude years
Oh
later.
my goodness, I had no idea.
Yeah, and it didn't go past, I think, a few episodes. It might not have even gone past the pilot, but I was like, "Who wants this? Who's this for? What was the
Oh my
point?"
gosh.
And, yeah, so things like that, I totally get. It just doesn't make any sense from any standpoint. Yeah, so, yeah, I guess I sympathize a little bit.
Depending. Sometimes it's really and a lot of times when at least when it comes to like comic book characters um being race bent or being changed from a redhead,
Yeah,
um a lot of times in comic books the characters were created as redhead because when they were coloring it stood out on the page. So there's
right.
like an unnaturally amount of redhead characters in comic books.
Okay,
And
interesting.
when, in the 70s when or 60s even, when they were creating these characters, that red, that dye was a lot brighter than and it would make that character and draw your eye to that point. So there is a lot of characters like that, and I understand sometimes it is ridiculous. Sometimes, Riot Kitty brings up a good point. Cyclone in the new Black Adam movie to me was like one of those where I'm like, that's silly because Cyclone was a redheaded, freckle girl that loved the Wizard of Oz and had like red and white tights and she was bright. Like it was her look, like you said, was
Right,
as much as that character as anything else. And then they change it,
sure.
you know, but it's,
It's not a
what
black
is,
and white issue. Nothing ever is a
yeah,
black and white issue. You have to go case by case. I would
exactly.
assume in the comic book world, a large amount of these characters are white based on
Hmm.
when in the original runs. I'm sure nowadays
Oh,
they've gotten more
absolutely.
inclusive, but all the popular ones were probably white and all their sidekicks and whatnot, except for the token black one that everyone had for some reason. So there's a part of me that's also like, well, who gives a shit? It's just a pigment of your skin, depending on where you were born, right?
Right.
It's nothing. It's nonsense. That's why there's other people that are like, I don't see color, and I totally get that as well. Like, who really cares at the end of the day what pigment or tone of skin you have or hair color, as long as the character is impressive.
Right.
The problem is a lot of times they're not. Like, look at Fantastic Four, that remake where they made Johnny Storm Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan's a great actor.
Yeah.
That character was boring as shit. So the purpose of recasting him as as a black lead made no sense because he didn't bring anything to the table. And I think
Right.
that's just how we have to look at things. Like, if you're going to recast a certain look or a certain personality, have it be for the detriment of the script. Have it benefit the film, not just to check off a box.
Yes, exactly. Hey, I like this. Hooded Justice. Can you imagine them remaking Hair? I love Hair. Hair is one of my favorite all-time
Don't know
music.
who
I
that
love
is.
musicals. You don't know what Hair is?
Is that Hairspray?
No, it's from the 70s. It was a play.
No idea.
Um, oh my goodness, you are missing out.
I'm an
I love
uncultured
musicals.
swine, Tristan.
Right. I just I always gravitate towards musicals anyways because I love music in general and I'm always listening. So Hair to me was one like Hair and Rent. Rent's another one I should have added to my all-time favorite movies. That was a great movie.
Didn't see it.
Follow
Sorry.
you haven't seen oh my god. What is wrong? Bring the
Remember when I
movie
said
guy on. Okay,
remember
please
when I
tell
said
me.
I don't like musicals?
Yes, but please tell me you've seen a Phantom of the Opera at least.
Which version? There's like 30 of them. The
Any.
Yeah, I've seen the Gerard Butler one.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. And then he did 300 and was just amazing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, Follow up for Adam. Last time you saw a movie with great storytelling within the last 5 years.
Great
Oh, there's so many.
storytelling. Don't like being put on the spot. You'd have to, like, go back and look at the entries on. Do you use Letterboxd? I love Letterboxd. It's to
No, I
catalog all the
seen
movies
you
you've seen.
did a video about that. I don't know
Yep.
what Letterbox even is.
You can't do a video anymore without people thinking it's a sponsored video.
Oh,
Like, I
yeah.
genuinely didn't get paid at all for that. I just liked the service. I should have tweeted to Letterboxd afterwards, be like, "Pay me now, please. I'm proactively sponsoring." The last 5 years,
Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad?
Mhm.
Well,
It's like the
yeah,
only
I
movie
don't
I've
know
seen
if
this
that's
year.
the compelling story to the I mean, was Logan in the last 5 years? 'Cause I love that film, but that might be older than 5 years ago.
That
First
might
Man,
be.
I've brought up a couple times. It's not a popular film, but that was a beautiful movie to me. It's the Neil Armstrong film with Baby Goose. Um, just kind of a like a somber, dark, uh, telling of the man's life and getting to the moon and how it wasn't the amazing, glorious spectacle that everyone thinks behind the scenes. He had a very dramatic life. He lost a kid at a young age and just couldn't get over it. So he basically had to go to the fucking moon to let this kid go. I mean, powerful stuff.
What's it called?
It's called First Man.
I'll
Highly
have to check it
recommended.
out.
It's a slow, sad movie, but I think the payoff is definitely there, especially if you appreciate the director's work, whose name I can't pronounce. He did La La Land and he did Whiplash.
Oh, okay. So I like La La Land. I never even heard of it. A lot of times these marketing with these companies, you don't even know these movies exist.
Someone said Venom too for the great storytelling. That's awesome.
I see. I don't see these great. I mean, to me, I'm just like, okay, well, Peacemaker, great storytelling. Yep. Like I just when I go to great storytelling, I'm thinking of like books like The Prophet or something like that, but not necessarily movies. And that's Dune. I see a lot of Dune.
Dune, really? Dune? I thought Dune was. I guess when I think great storytelling, I think of movies that shake you to your core, that make you feel things you don't typically feel in a film, and you think about for days or weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
Peacemaker, like you said, that's a fun show that,
Right.
you feel emotions, you can feel sad for characters you didn't think, but it's not something where I'm spending days afterwards like, "Damn, that was like, that movie hurt," you know? Uh, Midsummer is a movie I watched, and the entire time I watched it, I hated it, and I felt sick to my stomach watching the movie, and weeks later, I was still thinking of that damn film, and then I thought, "Maybe this is a good movie now because I'm still thinking
Yeah.
about it." Um, so I guess I could kind of put that in, there's films like that where it just has you, feel things you don't typically feel, I guess.
I The Mist. The Mist haunts me.
That's a great
The
movie. I love The Mist.
It's haunting.
Yeah,
All
oh, man.
I still to this day cannot think about The Mist without thinking about that end.
That
And
ending.
oh my god. Yes, that's a good example because I will never watch it again because it is that haunting. Like the choices that were had to be made and then oh, I can't do it. It's one of the it's horrible.
Yeah,
It's
watch The
horrible in a
Mist if
great
you
way.
haven't. I think it's MIST. You're spelling MYST, which is the computer game from, like, the '90s or '80s. See, you guys make mistakes too.
The Prophet.
Um,
Yeah, yes, The Prophet by I think his name's Richard something. He's great. Great book.
The Mist had a lot of, Lord of the Flies going on, which
Mhm.
is so frustrating to watch play out, but then we see it play out in the real world too, just recently. So it is a tough movie to watch because you can totally see where people will quickly jump on the sycophantic bandwagon if they think they're going to be saved. So they follow the crazy lady of the town who now seems like the rational one. Just a awesome film.
Yeah, that one is, oh my god. I don't think there's much more haunting out there just because kids are my kryptonite anyways, no matter what kind of storytelling it is. And the fact that oh my god, I can't think about it. Yeah, it's haunting
Schindler's
is the way
List
to
is a
put
great movie I never want to see again. Well, that's exactly right, Bryant. Very well said.
it.
It
Yeah,
is a
there's a
there are some movies where you watch them, they're miserable experiences, but they're powerful ones, and you're like, "I'm good. I don't never need to watch this again."
but you'll never forget it
You'll
either. And
never
I think
forget it.
that,
Exactly.
yep, definitely. And there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of compelling in storytelling. I've always found my love, I guess, would be my passion would be writing. I don't know. So speaking of Peacemaker, you have
Yeah,
been I haven't watched episode six, I believe yet. So nothing
watched it
there.
last
But
night.
um how have you been enjoying it?
I like it. I mean, I like it a lot, but I also am a sucker for James Gunn. He hasn't missed for me.
Mm-mm.
I think this is James Gunn marrying two of the things he's really good at, which is the gross horror aspect of Slither and some of his more shock films before he became a popular, like, big name director, and then his obviously superhero spectacle stuff from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's very juvenile. If you don't like a lot of swearing, you're gonna be turned off because these guys are dropping F bombs like every other word.
Oh yeah.
He does have a little bit of issue with making characters, I guess, unique. They're unique in some senses, of course, but they all kind of have one-liner quips to throw back at each other. Like, not everyone talks the same, and these guys do. So it does fall into the one writer, a bunch of voices sort of thing. You can tell the script is coming from one guy's head. It's because
Right.
every character kind of has, these clever retorts, and sometimes that can get a bit much. But for the most part, the action's great, the humor's typically works, and even when it doesn't, the actors do a really good job of owning it. Especially John Cena, who, man, he is so good. He reminds me of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. The guy embodied this character 100%.
The funny thing about him to me is all I can think of is like the memes, that go around because I had never watched him when he was doing wrestling or never seen anything. So going into the Suicide Squad was the first thing from him I had ever seen. And I was kind of blown away at what a good actor he was for that. Like that role was made for him. And then when he comes on Peacemaker, he owns like not only the funny parts, but the real deep stuff with his dad or
Yeah.
like when he falls over and he's drunk, but he's still sad. He owns those, like, the way he's able to do it, I was super impressed. That's like The Rock came over from wrestling and him, and
Mhm.
they've both become.
And Dave Bautista, right, from UFC
Oh,
or
yeah,
something?
you're right.
Yeah, these
I
guys,
forgot
I mean,
about him.
they know the pageantry. They know how to do it. I don't know what episode it was, either 4 or 5, but when they played House of Pain and
Oh,
he's just on the ground and they're doing those flashbacks, that
yes.
was some good storytelling. I was just floored by what I was watching.
I know James Gunn does a really good job at taking these like no name characters. So not,
Yep.
you know, he takes in the Suicide Squad Polka Dot Man, who wasn't in the Suicide Squad at all in the comic books, but makes him belong. Not only makes him belong, but makes him thrive. And
Yeah.
then takes Ratcatcher too
I love
and makes
Ratcatcher
it.
too. Great
Oh my
character.
god. She's so sweet. She was such like a standout character. I mean, they
Yeah.
all were, but
Yeah, they were great. I mean, Idris Elba, or I always butcher his name. I think it's Idris Elba.
I
He's
think so.
great in it. I'm seeing a comment saying I have not seen Super.
No, I
I have
haven't.
seen Super, another James Gunn movie that's great. That's got Ellen Page, Elliot Page, and now I'm gonna get shit on for that. And Rainn Wilson are in it.
Yes.
It's like a deconstructed superhero movie, kind of in the vein of Kick-Ass, but even more gritty and realistic. Great movie.
I've never seen that. See, I know everyone says it's really good, but it's one that I I always isn't Rainn Wilson the guy from The Office?
Yes, he's Dwight.
Yeah. I have a hard time separating it sometimes because I watch The Office. entirely too much. Just entirely too much. Um, and
I am
I'll
too.
have to check it out, but, like, James Gunn has I wonder how much extra because not only does his storytelling really work in the way he does his characters, but the score, the way he does his music is so fitting, and he uses
Yeah.
well-known music always. That's gotta cost a lot for copyrights and all that. I can't imagine. I wish they would steal him like, Kevin Feige for the MCU. They would just take James Gunn and put him in that position for the DCU. I think it could make a lot of money but I don't think he really necessarily has the interest to take on something
I
that
mean, yeah,
big.
he's still got the Disney stuff too with Guardians 3. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm super impressed by Peacemaker. It redeemed a character that almost felt irredeemable.
Right.
Or at least it's on the track too. Because I was irritated at the end of that movie. I'm like, he killed Rick Flag. Really, he killed Rick Flag, and now you're making him his own show. Impossible. No, they did it. They definitely did.
They did it, and I think the sympathetic backstory always goes a long way for the villain role. When you find out where that person came from, you're like, ah, okay. Well, you're not near as bad as your father, so I guess kudos to that. You seem to be wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah, I got a question from you or for you. Sorry,
Yeah.
from Figure Drawing. Thank you. Adam does movies. Do you have an opinion on Robert Pattinson movies? Good Times, Rover, Lighthouse, etc.
I think what Robert Pattinson was able to bring to the role of Twilight was powerful, dramatic, beautiful, haunting, and really made me sparkle like he did in the sunlight. His role as Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter was powerful, shiny. No, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't seen any of Robert Pattinson's movies outside of the main one, and I just talked about Lighthouse last night with my friend who saw Jackass. I said, "Is this worth watching?" And he mentioned it's very weird, it's very bizarre, so I'll probably like it. That is on my radar. I just haven't seen it yet. I can't think of any other Robert Pattinson films outside of those main ones. I apologize. Sorry. Sorry for your loss.
I know. And when he was originally cast, I'm like, really, really. But I've heard good things, and I've watched some trailers and some footage, but I haven't had a chance to see them either. I know people say they're good.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining me. I really, really appreciate your time. I'm glad I was finally able to catch you and get you on the show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Make sure you guys subscribe to him. He does, like he said, about 5 videos a week, and they're always not only are they like insightful and good, but they're going to make you laugh every single time.
And I'm gonna get something wrong every time too. Make sure to
Don't
point it out in the
forget that.
comments. I love it. I love that. I love when 50 people do it, even though I pin a comment at the top that says like, "Hey, just a correction here."
Yeah. And you know what, though? It's okay because it helps in the algorithm. The
Hey,
interaction,
that's
you can't
right.
ever argue with that.
That's right.
I'm gonna start purposefully getting something wrong in the first minute so people just go down there
That's
and
actually
start
a
writing
great
something.
that's like a good loophole. "Hey, just wanna let you know I made 3 mistakes in this video. See if you can find them." And just do that for every video just to give yourself an out.
There we go. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's perfect.
Oh, are we still arguing about box office?
This guy just won't let it go. Box of Force
The
Awakens,
movie,
Last Jedi. Okay,
they all made
so
a
actually they
billion.
did make less money as they went on. What? But they made more than they made more overall than some of the other Star Wars movies. So you're just talking about the sequels making less? I mean,
Oof.
what's the what's the end game here with your point? Because everybody and their mom went to see Force Awakens because it was the first new Star Wars movie in decades. The Last Jedi was polarizing and pissed off a lot of people that were not going to return for the last film. So it's just like, what are you getting at? What are you getting at?
They all made a billion. They're all doing
They all made
just
a
fine.
fuck ton of money. They all, yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Yep. You can't ask for more than that.
It's
So
it's like when Avatar and what's its nuts and Avengers Endgame were kind of battling for the top highest gross movie of all time, and then they
uh-huh.
just kept releasing them in the theaters, and people were like, "Oh yeah, this one's winning." It's like they're both owned by Disney. Disney's winning. Who cares?
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, so
Subscribe.
Go subscribe to Adam. Make sure you check him out. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Tristan. I'll post this around to my social things as well, and hopefully you'll pick up a couple subs that way too.
Yay, I appreciate it. Thank
Yep.
you. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.